Johnny. Jon, same thing sort of from the Gusmao debut in the Octagon to where you are today. Your career has just completely skyrocketed. There's a lot of distractions leading up to the biggest fight of your life, not just all the media stuff, but there's the talk of the whole Rashad Evans stuff. How are you keeping yourself mentally focused to prepare for this biggest fight of your career?
I don't really look at it as being distracted. I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm definitely grateful to be sitting where I am today and realize that it's a dream come true and so I'm just enjoying the whole thing. So I wouldn't say there's distractions. I'm still training twice a day, even as I'm tweeting so much, it's just fun to be here. So. And I meditate a lot on victory and things like that. So I'm definitely in tune with what's going on, and I'm just excited. I'm just enjoying the ride.
Jon, can you compare how it feels right now going into your first title fight to when you made your UFC debut against Gusmao? Because I know you said sometime you were pretty nervous before that fight.
Yeah. I'm. Every day I'm learning how to become a better athlete, and it feels pretty much the same. I feel as if I'm growing with the opportunity. When I was facing Andre Gusmao, I didn't really have many tactics. I was new to MMA, let alone the UFC, and now I have a better grasp of what's going on, both when it comes to media, when it comes to competition, and everything. So I feel right at home, so I feel good.
One question for Jon Jones. Could you please stand up?
Uh-oh.
Do you really think you could win this fight? Have you seen Alistair Overeem? Have you seen him fight the snake?
Hey, what's your name?
What?
What's your name?
Anthony.
Come on, son. Come on, son. Come on, son. Absolutely. I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't think I could beat Shogun. So.
The moment is here. You've been talking about this for a long time. I just want to ask you first, do you need to tweet? Because you've been averaging like one tweet every 5 minutes. So if you want to get that out of the way before the interview starts.
I'll probably tweet this. I'll retweet this interview when it comes out. How's that?
Good deal. Yesterday, I thought at the press conference you looked very calm, relaxed. You were really enjoying the moment. What have you told yourself about this? This is a big deal for you, but it doesn't seem like you're reserved, you're nervous, anything like that. You just seem to be having fun out there.
Yeah, I'm just going with it. I'm realizing more and more that no matter what I do before the fight, they're going to lock us in there. We're going to have to fight each other. So I might as well enjoy the ride. I would hate to look back on life and say, oh, man, I remember I would just stay in my room and I would just freak out the whole time and I ended up winning the fight anyways type of thing, So I'm just realizing that they're going to lock us in there. So I might as well make the best of it, use all the media to my advantage, I'll get my Twitter followers up and things like that and just enjoy it, I'm fighting in New York as well, and I think it's important for me to do my part. This fight is very small compared to the scale of work that needs to be done to legalize it in the sport and in New York. So I'm just trying to do my part as much as possible and then put a cherry on top of all of it with a great performance.
A lot of people were surprised when they found out that you've been signing your name as Champ 2011. How did that come about?
I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe that that you can speak things into existence. And I believe that when you know where you're going and you know what you want, the universe has a way of stepping aside for you. And me signing my signature with Champion 2011 on it, it can't hurt me. It can't hurt me. It could only help me to believe it even more. So yeah. I mean, it works for me.
You've been saying something that I find to be very interesting, that the butterflies in your stomach are in formation.
Right.
I've never heard that before. I think it makes a lot of sense. What do you mean by that? Elaborate.
What I mean by it? Okay, so the butterflies in formation, basically it means when you have butterflies and you're feeling anxious and you have anxiety or nervous, that's when you're most powerful, I believe. And either you can, you're most powerful. So a lot of people, instead of homing this power, and using it, they allow it to just consume them. There's another quote that says, a big challenge or big pressure is like a fire. It's like a raging fire. Either you can allow this fire to consume you and just take you over completely, or you can gain control of this fire and harness it, and you blow it right at your opponent like it's Dragon Ball Z style. All right, so that's what I'm trying to do. I try to get my emotions under control and use this adrenaline to my advantage.
Final question. A lot of people like to compare, the stars of today to the stars of yesterday, and a lot of people are comparing you to Mike Tyson. At just 20-something years old, he won the heavyweight title and just started this whole new era of heavyweight boxing. Do you see any similarities, and have you studied what he went through and then what happened to him when he won the title and his decline, all that stuff?
No, I don't see any similarities between me and Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had a different mindset. He was raised differently. He was a little more worldly. And I come with a different message. I think he got sidetracked at things. Even though he's a great guy, he's an icon. He transcended boxing at the time. But I try not to listen to things like that. I just try to focus on being the best Jon Jones that I can be, and keeping my message more on the positive side. And I think the only similarity is that we both achieved a lot of success at a young age. But to be compared to Mike Tyson is not what I'm looking for.
I know you're a very big boxing fan, a boxing historian. Do you see this as sort of, when Mike Tyson sort of came on in his big title fight, he was 20-something years old, kind of around the same age as Jon Jones. Do you view this as maybe your moment in the UFC here with Jon Jones?
Yeah, I do. It's funny because you got a guy like Shogun who has been around for 10 years and fought the best of the best, man. But this kid has so much experience in big fights. I mean, he's fought in front of 100,000 people. He's fought in Pride. He's fought over here. So you take a guy like Jon Jones, who just breaks into the top 5, weeks ago, and he's just one of those special fighters. They come every once in a while, and the fact that this kid is ranked, Shogun is the underdog in this fight as far as betting goes, is amazing.
Does that surprise you?
Yeah, it shocks me. I'm shocked that he's the underdog.
He's very upset. He thinks he gets no respect.
Yeah, well, I would have to agree with him. The fact that he's the underdog is crazy. That the guy who just broke into the top 5 a few weeks ago is basically the favorite.
All right, so this is what happened. I was hanging out at my bat cave on, right? And okay, so check this out. We one of my co-managers, his name is Glenn, and he has a family that lives here in the New Jersey area. So before my fights, I like to find a really beautiful site, whether it's the top of a mountain, next to a stream, anything gorgeous, nature-wise. I like to associate nature with different levels of energy and all this. But anyways, that's a different topic. So we find a place in Paterson, New Jersey, where there's a bridge, and there's this very powerful waterfall, and there's almost like a little mountain. And it was beautiful, but around this waterfall and everything, it was a really ghetto area. And as the guy pulls us up in his car, he's like, I'm in the passenger seat, Greg Jackson and Winkle John's in the back seat. He's like, listen, guys, before I drop you off here, I want to let you know this is a pretty bad neighborhood, so you might want to be careful. And I'm like, dude, we're all MMA guys. And he's like, well, I'm just letting you know, a lot of people get mugged here. Just as he said that, I turned to pull off my seatbelt, and the guy, I see an old Spanish couple like screaming, and they're like running. They look like they're out of breath big time. And I'm like, dude, they just got mugged. And he's like, no. And I'm like, maybe not, I'm tripping. And you just put that in my mind. So Mike Winklejohn hops out of the car, and he's like, you guys okay? And then she's like, the guy he just broke my window open, and he took all my stuff, and he's running. And so I'm like, what? So Mike Winklejohn, without hesitation, he just starts running, right? And I'm like, holy crap. And then Greg Jackson, he just starts running, and they both start running. So I'm like, what is happening right now? So next thing you know, I have like sweatpants on, I have an iPod and my Droid X, my wallet. I'm like, what is, where am I? What's going on? So I'm like, okay, it's time for me to take action. So I take my hands in my pockets, I throw my stuff on the floor, and I tell our driver, I'm like, dude, take care of my stuff. And I throw it on the floor, and I just start running, right? And I got these gazelle legs, so I'm running, right? And I'm running, and next thing you know, I catch up to my coaches, and I'm jogging, and they're just sprinting, right? I'm like, so what are we doing? We gonna catch this guy? And he's like, John, you get back. He's like trying to swim move me, like get over me. He's like, get back. You don't need to be involved with this, right? And I'm like, nah, Coach, God, trust me, man. I'll be okay. So then I put the Jets on. I went TO on him. So I put the Jets on, and I catch up to the guy. I'm like, how you doing? Think you're gonna? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. So, anyways, the guy, like, I'm like closing in on this guy, about 20 yards away, and the guy's like, you can see that he's starting to get winded. So he's like, you know, he got this stuff and he's running, and he looks back and he usually sees me, you know, 6'4". You got Greg and Wink like behind us. Yeah, Greg and Wink's behind me, and I'm just running like, you know, I'm gonna catch you, right? So the guy looks back, and then he trips over his own foot. And so at the time he tripped over his own foot, I got so scared because I didn't know what I was gonna do when I actually caught him. So I actually like started barking like, I'm gonna get you, like, you know. So the guy's like, he looks back like, oh crap, but he's trying to stand up. And when he was standing up, I approached him when he's like in a, you know, in your March cassette go type of stance, because he's like trying to get his momentum back. And one of his behind feet, I just came up with my foot and like scooped it out from under him with my foot, like just kicked him from the back, like kind of kicked his ankle out. And he fell down, and when he fell, he like, you know, scraped his hands up pretty good. And so he's down on the floor, and you know, I'm thinking like, I hope I don't get stabbed right now. So I'm just like looking at him like, should I ground and pound him? And Greg Jackson just comes out of nowhere and jumps on the guy's back, and he starts speaking Spanish, like, you know, and like, I'm like, you know Spanish, all right? So I'm like, let me do something, right? So I grabbed the guy's feet, and then I put him in this move, because I went to college for criminal justice, and I had a class defensive tactics. So I grabbed him, and I like figure four'd his legs, and I sat on his legs, and he's screaming at us, and Greg's like, you know, speaking Spanish. So as I'm sitting on this guy's leg, catching my breath a little bit, because we're sprinting uphill, I realized that I'm in like this Spanish neighborhood, and like all these people are coming out their houses yelling Spanish across the street. I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. Like, what is happening? Like, Greg's yelling like Spanish to people, and then a guy walked up to us, and he's like, yo man, that could have been my mama's car. And once he said that, I was like, yes, they're on our side. Like, I'm like, yeah, you punk, that could have been his mama's car. And so we hold them, and the police come, and you know, at that point, I'm just sitting and I'm resting. I'm like, you know, because I got a fight coming up, so I'm just holding this foot here. Like, man, you got me breathing hard and stuff. And so the police comes, get out of his car, and he's like, what are you doing here? Like, aren't you fighting tonight? And I'm like, yeah, man, I was trying to get my meditation on. And this guy, you know, but anyways, it was great, you know. The police didn't give us a ride back to the crime scene, so we had to walk all the way back through this neighborhood. You know, I'm looking around and stuff. I don't speak a lick of Spanish. So, yeah, it was pretty interesting. And the lady, she came, and she's like, oh, it's so good to see people like you guys here to help me. You guys cared enough to chase that guy. And the police had told her that I was fighting and everything. She was like, you know, God's gonna be with you tonight, man. You're gonna do good. God bless you, son. I'm gonna watch your fight. And I was like, thank you, ma'am. Then we went, and we all felt like superheroes. We just had the best meditation session ever, and I just felt really good after that. I was like, I gotta win this fight. I got the hard work, dedication, and now I got karma on my side. So it was crazy. It was good.
And the part that he's leaving out, his brother told me back in the dressing room that after they caught the guy, he was going, you know what? People work really hard for their stuff, and you stole it, and you shouldn't do that. You should choose a different path in life. He's over there preaching to the guy.
What if that was your sister, and you just broke her car windows? Like, would you like it if someone did that to you? Like,
You started with a few dipping into your bag of tricks right from the beginning, and I wondered, were you sort of freestyling, or had you scripted anything at the beginning?
No, I had, because of how passionate I am about martial arts, I have all these moves in my head, and Greg's job first is to teach me how I could lose, and that's where we start our weaknesses on a training camp. And then we work towards our strengths towards the end of a training camp. So as you can see, before the fight, I'm like doing the Ali shuffle and like dancing. I was trying to psych myself to realize, hey, John, get comfortable here. Like, make this your octagon, be free-flowing, use your body, there's a quote that says, tension and effort actually creates more hesitation, and it makes more, it messes with your coordination. So I was just focusing on being really relaxed and just let my body flow and let my body move like Anderson does. He just does everything. So I had established in my mind that that was going to be my cage for the night, and that I was going to let my body work the way I know it could work. That's why, like, one of my first moves was something that you wouldn't see normally. It was a move that involved a level changing, a punch fake, a level change, and a fly, because my body was relaxed. I was allowing it to work.
I think we saw a transition tonight, a transition of a new generation of fighter. His skill set is unbelievable, and all due respect to Shogun, it was just amazing, because everybody knew that Jon had this incredible arsenal of weapons, and his ground game is, also incredible. But still, to see him actually dismantle him the way he did was incredible.
Post-fight at UFC 128, where Jon Jones just defeated Shogun Rua. Was it awkward considering your friendship with Jon?
This whole situation is awkward,
Did you expect him to dominate the fight that easily?
Yes, I did. From the minute they called that he was going to fight him, I knew he was going to destroy him.
What do you think you're going to do? Will you train with Jackson's or stay at Grudge? Do you know?
I'm done with Jackson's.
You're done? How come?
I'm done.
You're his coach. You got to be happy right now. What are you feeling?
I'm really happy for Jon Jones. It's a very bittersweet moment for me because, Rashad's got to fight him next, and I love Rashad like a brother. I love Jon like a brother, so I'm extremely happy for Jon. He showed what he could do, but yeah, it's bittersweet.
Will you be in the arena when they fight?
No, I don't think so. Unless another one of our fighters is fighting, which I guess is likely, but yeah, I'll be drowning my sorrows in a water somewhere because I don't drink.
You seem torn right now.
How would you feel if your brother was going to fight your brother? You know what I mean? Like, put it on yourself. Like, if everybody was like, who's going to win that fight? Your one brother, your other brother. You'd be like, I don't really want to see him fight. So that's just me, though. The UFC wants what it wants, and the fans want what they want, and I'm happily being an unimportant person. So that's just my opinion.
I thought that there were a lot of experiences that were going to affect him in the fight. Obviously being such a young guy and going in against a guy like Shogun. Not to mention the fact that he has taken on a huge load PR this week. Everybody was all over this kid. This kid was in the Wall Street Journal. He was in the New York Times. He was here. He was there. He was all over the place. This morning at 11 o'clock. Now, granted, remember, we're on the East Coast, okay? At 11 o'clock, this kid's calling me about credentials, right? That hasn't happened to me before either. Calling me about credentials. I'm like, 11 o'clock, man, you don't fight till midnight tonight. You should be sleeping right now. Then I hear the story about how he runs out and, stops this guy that just robbed these people, waits for the police to come. I'm like, man, that's a pretty big day for a guy. Then he comes in here and dominates Shogun. The only thing left to do is to deliver a baby on the way home tonight.
When you look at him, 23 years old, charisma, tenfold. It's amazing what he has. Comes from a very athletic background, very well spoken. This has to be just something that you're just almost want to sit back and see how this all unfolds. This story, right, of Jon Jones. It's amazing to watch him flourish before our eyes.
Yeah, here's the thing. Jon Jones got through a tough test tonight and passed with flying colors. The real challenge starts now. When you become the UFC champion and you have the charisma and the personality and all the things that Jon Jones has, this kid looks like he could be a breakthrough star that appeals to many different people. But this is where the real challenge begins. Every scumbag, dirtball, what I call Klingons, all the Klingons, the barnacles, they're probably trying to glom onto him right now as he's trying to walk to his car and go back to the hotel. Here's where the real challenge begins. And he seems to be a grounded kid, smart guy, has a good family around him and people that, care about him. So hopefully he can get through the nastiness that's going to come at him over the next several months.